And then, the least most important is the exercise. Yeah, it's really important, but it's not the most, right? Then I'll talk about nutrition. And then, yeah, sorry, Gilly. Right. And behaviour as well around eating. So, the 4 steps to alpha success, right? So, over the last week or so, it's all about finding out where you are, right? And through the stats, through the questionnaires, it gives me a lot of information. Where you are from a health perspective, stress levels, how well you deal with training response, how flat your batteries are, so to speak, how well you digest food, how much intolerance, how much inflammation you've got in your body, and in your report, I've given you feedback, just bullet points is what is showing up. And the only way I can really get that is from your interpretation of how you're feeling every day, right? How you're feeling, how your energy levels are, how your sleep patterns are, how well you deal with stress, right? And from the outside, it's symptoms. Symptoms of it could manifest into physical musculoskeletal pain. Normally, unless it's an acute injury, like you fall off saying you hurt yourself, the physical or skeletal physical symptom is normally manifest from an internal issue, right? And most of the time, organ. There's an organ muscular reflex pattern. So, for example, if you have a heart attack, you'll feel it down in your heart because a nerve that feeds the heart will feed the area of the body. So, for another example, if your batteries are flat or adrenals are screwed, then a lot of the time there's a certain area of the body which will manifest itself through pain or tightness. So your hip flexors is related to adrenals. So when I do your test, something else we've got to do, but I do a test for a hip flexor, which is muscle crossing over here. If you put that, go with that posture, I could extend it back. The body actually runs in. So their muscles actually short if you're in that short position and hamstrings. But at the same time, from an organ reflex point of view, you can be so stressed out adrenaline just flat, you can be stage 3 adrenal exhaustion, which then muscles have characteristics of tightening and lengthening, and muscles get tighter, right? So what I'm saying, all the questionnaires are being given back. It's all feedback from me, all information, pieces of the puzzle. For me to be the best, honest program through training, through nutrition, through supplementation. Alright? On Thursday, I can see what you need to be doing. If you need to be going into your body with type nutrition. Alright? Or if you need to be carrying on with the detox, don't worry about calories, just start throwing that. So come back to that, what I said about the calories, 600 calories in that shake. It was like 70, 80 grams of fats in that shake. Alright? But then fats are going to be essential to rebalancing everything. And that's why you've got it. So baseline is super important, right? Because your finishing destination is where I can work out, estimating. All these are just variables that, estimate. Obviously we've got the whole, we've got our life and everything, the big wide world out there. However, it's all estimating. And if I can track all the way along and change if we need to, that's what we do, alright? This is why you've got to be honest with me. If you're not meeting me in the middle, just doing what I'm saying, then you need to tell me this so we can change it, or I can work with you. If you're just emotionally overwhelmed by it all, tell me, alright? Because there's ways of working on it. Not going to be a counsellor, but there's definitely, especially at the end, where an expert will be coming up talking, just giving an idea what a certain therapy can really help with that type of thing, alright? And just unlocking any blockages, emotional patterns, which are ingrained through whatever it's coming from, alright? So, with the questionnaires, what I've talked about, I'm going to see where your batteries are, if they're flat, because the feedback I've got, mainly from females, guys as well, but like I said in the meetings, hormonally for females it's much more challenging, unfortunately, but you're going to feel it right? And when you take away all the stimulants that we like, which you haven't, because we're plugged 24/7 with Wi-Fi technology, so that stimulates your sympathetic your Wi-Fi system. That's something I talk about a bit further down into the seminar, which I'm pretty passionate about, because I suffer from that, and so I stick to the extreme. But even if you don't have any of that, or feel it, it's there. It's invisible, but it's there, trust me. But I want to see from a thyroid point of view, and that's your metabolic engine. How sluggish is it? Or overstimulated is it? And I'm going to get 3 people out, don't worry, they've already been introduced, not going to randomly pick, they volunteered to come out, I think they have been like, to come out, and I'm going to go through the 3 different body types, which they are, and how that responds from an internal physiological response to stress and everything else, and which way they go. From a thyroid point of view, there can be thyroid dominant. That means that you see some people get really stressed and they lose weight. And they can be still eating, or they can lose appetite, but they lose loads of weight and muscle. Or you could get the opposite end of the spectrum, who's really stressed and puts on loads of weight. Alright? And that comes down to body type, hormone nutrition, and thyroid function as well. So it gives me an idea from the questionnaires and all the data I've got, from a thyroid point of view, what's going on. Alright? Also, inflammation. How much fire is going on in your body? Systemically, the whole body, so that can be tissues, cells, glands, tissues, but also gut. Again, when there's inflammation, there's fluid retention, or water retention. When there's inflammation, there's toxicity a lot of the time. When there's inflammation, it's very hard to lose weight. Also, you are what you eat, but how much of what you are eating, you're digesting, absorbing, assimilating? Because if we don't work on the initial phase, which would be detoxing, how long we need to do? And the secret is, the detox really, you're going to be doing that all the way through. There'll be a few little tweaks here and there, and we may be emphasising a few nutritional supplements here and there, but pretty much you will be eliminating all the crap, right? Because you can't afford not to, for most. But if you're taking all this healthy food in, and I recommend supplements now, but you can't break the supplements down, you just waste the money on expensive pills. Sorry, you're right. You are, because if I say, oh, let's take all these supplements now, you can't break it down. That's the point, alright? Yes, I've given you some basic detox supplements, which should be able to break down and digest. But you've got to get your digestive system, your digestive juices functioning properly. So you can absorb the nutrients so you're not deficient. Because to build muscle, get lean, and burn body fat, you need nutrition. And this day and age, we all need supplements. That's the bottom line. The truth is, it's really expensive to be healthy, unfortunately. It's just been designed, how it has through the food manufacturers and the drug companies, it's all about the money. Because you get symptoms, you go to the doctor, you take a medication, and you just spin your wheels. You're lucky it suppresses the symptom, and you might be fine for a period of time, but a lot of the time it will come back to bite you. Because all you're doing is creating more inflammation and toxicity, right? Because that's what medication does. Yeah, it may suppress the acute symptom at the time. We don't want that. Now, I'm not saying this is this is going to be long game, 94 days and beyond. It's not like a miracle program that everything's going to go and you're going to just suddenly transform. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication and commitment. The level of that is very independent individually. All right. So, going back to what I was saying, deficiencies are very common because there's so much more stress in our lives than it was 20, 30, 50 years ago. Alright? Our grandparents ate organic food. We didn't have all the sprays on our food. Alright? We didn't have all this, we're not plugged in 24/7 with Wi-Fi. That has, on an energetic level, a depleting effect. Alright? So the more stress coming in, wherever way it is, level it's coming from, it's so much more than it was 40, 60 years ago, right? So they did these supplements then. It's different, right? And I've had hard arguments, but the discussion, people saying, if you eat real foods, you don't need supplements. It's not true. There's so much research out there, and unfortunately, if you get the digestive system working properly, then the supplements will benefit. It's the icing on the cake, it's your 10-15% to get what you want to get, alright? But that 10-15% will get you from, whatever where you are, if you want to lose that. If you're looking at 2 stone, or you don't really need to lose much weight, but you want to get that 6-pack, then that will help. So when I've done the body calipers, for most, it gives me an idea hormonally what's going on. Alright? So the belly is your cortisol receptors. The more stress you have in your life, the more you're going to promote or stimulate the receptors in your belly, your whole body fat around your belly. Alright? So, unless you address whatever stress in your life you think, and we're going to go for it, so nutrition stress and lifestyle stress we can hopefully improve on, which will then lower the cortisol in your body, hopefully, which then will give you more of a bigger metabolism, everything it needs to rev up and burn body fat from areas of the body where it's storing, i.e. the belly, alright? Insulin, I said to you when I saw most of you, 2 areas of the body, the back and here, so the love handles, right? They're the insulin areas. They give me an idea from a blood sugar handling point of view, where you're at. Can you break down carbs? And we're going to do the minimum we need to, I'm going to prescribe the minimum of what you need to get your results, if that makes sense. It's not about restriction to a certain degree. Obviously, you may feel at the beginning you're cutting out stuff that you've probably been eating for a long time, as in just crap food, right? For most. And that's true. However, I'm not against carbohydrates at all. And when your metabolism and your physiology is ready, we start implementing more carbs. Now, I'm talking about starchy carbs, healthy starchy carbs, which I'll go through. Because you need that for your thyroid. Alright? So the areas of the body for the insulin, it gives me an idea if you're handling it or not. Then estrogen, which is a big, and I'll talk about this, estrogen dominant, which a lot of females are coming, a lot of males. Males are coming females, and females are coming men, because the hormonal influences of disruption through influences out there. And that's what's happening. So, for example, estrogen dominance would be holding round, you feel more of a pear shape, but that depends on your body shape. It could be estrogen dominant or sternacum shape, as in skinny arms and legs, but around here, which is a classic metabolic syndrome issue from overexposure of caffeine and sugar, right? But estrogen is a storing hormone, and normally around the thighs and the bum. So if I feel you're estrogen dominant from the questionnaires, I really go after the liver detox, because your liver clears up excess estrogen. If it doesn't, if it's clogged up, think of it as a hoover, if it's clogged up the liver, if it's clogged up, the excess estrogen will be recycled around. But the liver has an intimate relationship with the gut. So this is why, now this is information you don't necessarily need to retain, I'm just trying to emphasise how complex the body is, alright? And it's not about doing a diet, counting calories, doesn't matter what calories there are, it's in my pump system. Oh, annoying. Because that's not addressing hormonally, alright? Because it's not looking at your toxic load. More toxins, more inflammation, more storage, more estrogen dominance, more stress level, and then insulin, more cravings, it's a vicious cycle. So that gives me, from an estrogen point of view, around the hips and the bum, and thyroid as well, it's looking around here, chest, testosterone levels as well. So there's a lot of information there I've sort of got together, collectively got together to give me more information on really what you need, alright? So the goal of this program, yes, eat clean, train well. So train hard, but train sensible, alright? But this is what we really want to do, stabilise the blood sugar levels. It's so important, because that's what most people are on, is the blood sugar roller coaster. Hyperglycemia. As in going up, at that top, if there's a high, there's always a low. medication, like uppers and downers, drugs, there's a high, you're going to have a massive crash. Alright, and normally that's the same with food and sugar. Alright? We need to regulate that. And if you, hopefully, you read that detox manual, it took me a lot of time to break down, but hopefully you did. You see the points I made from it was emphasising blood sugar levels and your hunger hormones and your appetite hormones. Try and regulate that. It's all connected, interwoven. Alright? To do that with the detox, eliminating all the crap. Stabilising blood sugar levels is key to looking good on the outside. Because you've got to hold on to whatever it is, and most of you, well, most of the guys, it's all about, because guys more testosterone, more ego driven. And the alpha, even though it's very ego alpha, the alpha is not about ego. For the guys, it's not about coming in, running, lifting heavy weights. It's about actually underneath that ego, they don't like the way they look, right? Talking about males, and they want to improve how they look and how they feel about themselves. They just don't show it. We don't show it, right? More testosterone, more ego in the way. And I went through the training side of it it's about lifting heavy weights. It's about lifting the right weight to create the right response without losing form, all right? And for females, the majority of the feedback is about feeling good about themselves, right? To do that is how you look, it's what you're seeing in the mirror. To do that, you've got to work on everything. And that's what the alpha female is about. It's about feeling good about yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to have stinking thinking. Stinking thinking is when you wake up and it's all negativity. You look in the mirror and think, oh, I look like shit. I don't like the way I look. How am I going to film these clothes? I'll just start away in black, all in black. So I hide it. Alright? And that's guys as well. But I'm going to have a look at this guy. That's the truth, right? But we've got to start somewhere, and that's why I've done it in order. As in, the training's important, the nutrition is super important, but the mindset and how you think about yourself is super important. So the thoughts you think on a day-to-day basis is going to create what you're going to do, your actions for the day. Alright? The law of attraction. Energy out, like attracts like. You keep thinking how bad you feel, you're just going to sabotage yourself. Period. And I see it all the time. Not just female, males as well. I've been through it loads of times. And then you just think, right, get a grip, let's do it. What do I need to do? And what does it for me is being in this environment. So, because apparently, a universal law is the more you help, the more you help yourself. Apparently. Okay? So apparently. And I feel I get that through helping people. Okay, so stabilising blood sugar levels, nurturing your adrenal glands, your batteries, things like that. Supporting your thyroid. They're closely connected. If your batteries are low, then you haven't got the fuel, the energy to stimulate your thermostat. Your habits, the rate of burning calories. Supporting the organs elimination, super important. So what I mentioned about the liver, the gallbladder is a massive, important gland. And for some reason, doctors seem to think, all right, just get it out. You don't need that, it's all right, it's all good. Because you've got a female condition, whatever it is, endometriosis, fibroid, whatever it is, you don't need your gallbladder. Just take that out. That's not necessarily the answer. Surgery is when it gets to a point, maybe it's done. But this is all about prevention, right? When I do these courses, I share what I do living or eating. I occasionally get people saying, you like about living, live life to full. Yeah, I agree. Well, why don't we live life to full in a healthy state? Because without even a little bit of your health, if you lose that, how good is it really anyway? In your 20s, you can get away with partying a lot more, burning smoke and the candle. In your 30s, things start to break down. Yeah, genetically, some people can last longer than others, right? You've dealt with the cards you're given through your parents, through your grandparents, and so forth. You've got to go with what you have been dealt with and listen to your body. But when you get to your 30s and 40s and then you start to burn out, that's not living a life full of happiness and energy and happiness. So, smash it by all means, but do it not at a cost. Work hard, play hard, whatever you want to do. But at the same time, I
no more pleasure, and then like feeling good, and wherever you are with your family, you know, family or kids, whatever, than that, really. So, liver, gallbladder, and I know there's a few who have had their gallbladder taken out, and again, basically when they do that, they don't recommend, for example, gallbladder's there to help with the liver, like this little sister hanging out with the liver to break down fat. Now, I recommend taking a certain amount of fat, let's just say 50 grams of fat per day, so an avocado, well that avocado is massive, so that's probably about 40 grams of fat there, but my point is, even a minimum of 50 grams of fat a day is essential for hormone reduction, reducing inflammation, and it helps with carb sensitivity and in breaking down carbs. But you need something to help break down the fat. You need your gallbladder. If you don't, you become malnutrition. You don't break it down. So again, it's just wasting money on fat because it just comes straight out. So when you have your gallbladder taken out, you need bile acid salt in your gallbladder. There's a substance called bile which helps break down fat, multiplies it, and then all the fat acids go where they need to go. So right? But they don't recommend it. Like, so anyhow, in the clients who've got no gallbladder, then I recommend certainly like acid salts which help break it down, so you just support the liver. And symptom mention cycle. So the menstrual cycle is just really symptoms. If you've got heavy or light periods or no periods, these are symptoms. So the symptoms of what's going on here. Alright? Once we work on this stuff, it should improve. It should have a good, comfortable cycle without too much trauma or emotional discomfort for the husband as well. So that's super important. With the detox manual at the back, there's symptoms of menstrual cycle and recommended foods which you have in the phases, which if you haven't looked at, it's worth doing. Okay, so what are we doing? We're balancing out the hormones, reducing toxicity, inflammation, calming off the internal environment through it's optimised nutrition, but through nutrition and support supplements, alright? Calories don't control metabolism, alright? And that's the rate you burn fat, as well as other things. Hormones do. Hormones are just chemical messages telling other parts of the body what to do, alright? Calories don't. Calories are important, and I'll come on to that. You balance your hormones, you balance your metabolism, and you'll lose weight or fat, whatever you want to look at it, and you'll start building fat-burning muscle tissue. At what level we need to go to get to that, depending on the individual. That means you can't have alcohol for the next, or I recommend, I shouldn't say can't, recommend don't have alcohol for the next 94 days or onwards, then so be it. You've got to go with where you are now, and the cards you've been dealt with, and what's facing you. Yeah, it's challenging, but if you really want it, you've got to do this stuff. Because if you have alcohol, say last week you did that, people went out and had alcohol last night, alright? It disrupts your metabolism for 24 hours. 7 hours your liver's just under load to try and neutralise that alcohol. So other things will be left to, or put to the side to do, which need to be done all the time. The body works on survival. It wants to protect itself, so the more toxic substance comes in the body, it needs to clear out straight away. Alright? Doesn't care about anything else, it's all about survival. Okay, with hormones, I've mentioned this, but the liver is super important. Through the night, it's all about, this is where sleep is so important. And there's phases of sleep. So from 10 PM to 2 PM, it's about physical repair. Okay, it's all about what you've taken out of the day. You start going to sleep, hopefully, the nearer the 10 o'clock, 10, the better it is. So if you go to bed at 12, you miss 2 hours of that physical repair. That's growth hormone repair. That's hormonally rebalancing testosterone estrogen. Alright? So you could be missing because we've been exposed over the last how many years to artificial light and technology. So people are on their iPhones till 12 at night, Facebook, whatever it is. Do you know what that's doing to the brain? It's like light stimulates the pituitary gland saying awake, because light associates with awake and awakening hormones. So it stimulates your cortisol, which is awakening hormone. So then it throws your repair hormones off. Awakening hormones go up, your repair hormones go down. So say you train in the gym, you want to the intensity wants to be high in the gym for an hour. Alright, in and out, ideally, I'll come on to that. And then it's all the good stuff happens, all the recovery happens through nutrition, hydration, supplementation, sleep, rest. And if you don't get that, and get that first initial phase of sleep, you miss a big part. And your elevated hormones are still up, and your recovery hormones are still down. So, and then you wake up in the morning without that recovery phase needed, and you feel like crap. So what you need something to stimulate your body to get going. Normally coffee, because that's adrenaline, cortisol goes up even more. Alright? That's what we're coming off. So when you cut out all the crap, you come off that adrenaline sugar roller coaster, then you know where your true vitality is. This is where you're at, without all the stimulants. Now the goal is, going forward, is to build up your natural energy, not through stimulants, through nutrition, to get your adrenals, your batteries up, to get your thyroid functioning properly, alright? And the liver has a lot to do with it, because through the night, so you've got 2 to 4 hours, and it's like 2 AM, and that's the liver as well. And then 2 AM to 6 AM, you're looking at psychogenic immune repair, alright? Which a lot of people do get at, the 2 to 6, but then it's the first part. So a lot of people miss all the phases of recovery. And if that liver's bombarded and you're not getting out the toxins, then that has a big effect on your metabolism and how well, or how efficient the rate of burning calories will be for that day. Alright? So it's important that we get that right. Now, I've done a separate course on called Have You Got the Guts to Be Healthy and Slim? And this diagram here is, I talk about in length, but in a nutshell, your brain and your gut have an intimate relationship. And that's the same actually from a muscular physical repair, physical or skeletal point of view. What happens at the pelvis normally happens up here. The most important joint in the body is the atlas, the top, okay, C1, and then you've got the pelvis. Because if the atlas subluxes, it comes out, the vertebra comes slightly out, all information goes through, alright? That's slightly out, and all the information going through the body. If the pelvis is slightly out, as in if you created that tightness in the hips, you get that femoral duct posture, which is a traditional, there's 2 classic pink panther femoral duct, right? A pink panther would be tail under, and you can do all the glute work in the world, but you can't get that pert bum. And then the Donald Duck is more the pert bum, but it looks like a pert bum, but it's more the pelvis coming under, but you've got hyperextended chronic back pain. Normally what happens, the body, from a survival point of view, it's more important for the eyes, the ears, to be in line. Because back in the day, if you're confronted by a lion wherever it is, you've got to visually have optimal visual vision and hearing as well, so you can hear around. So the body will adjust, blow the atlas down to adjust so you get this position. Alright? Even if it throws off the pelvis even more. So normally if you get a hyperextended back, you have a hyperextended upper back. It's called an upper and lower cross syndrome. I put on some of you who've got an upper cross syndrome. Just to bring this back up, alright, into position. Like I say, the body works in survival or importance, alright? So going back to my point on internally, what happens in the gut happens up here. The juices in here affect the neurotransmitters, which the brain chemicals here. So your happy hormones, your serotonin, dopamine, your endorphins, influenced by here. Your serotonin at 75% is developed in your gut. Now, if you've got a diminished gut, if you've got a leaky gut, if you've got infections, overabundance of yeast, candida, bacteria, parasites, which is common with the food most people eat, because most people are eating processed food and sugar, which feeds the bacteria and the yeast. They take over. All these microorganisms opportunities, yeah? They will take hold of your body if you give them a chance, if you feed them. So the cravings you may be having over the last 6 days may not be you, it may be your bugs are craving. And some of you have gone through a diet. There's detoxing, withdrawal, and there's diet. Diet is actually you're starving the bugs. When you starve the bugs, they get pissed off. Alright? They start releasing, they start dying off, but they release other eggs, so they want to proliferate, and they release toxins, mycotoxins, and make more toxic. That's why we've got to keep drinking loads of water so we can start flushing out. Alright? My point is, when you've got that going on, it has a massive effect on your brain chemicals, which ultimately leads to how you feel every day, alright? Your motivation, how you respond to emotion, stress, everything else. So we've got to clear this up so your happy hormones start getting developed more and more, or produced more and more. So it's all, again, interconnected. And that's why we get the basic rubbish out with the detox, which the basic bad the culprits to creating dysfunction here and here is sugar, obviously, soya, the soya we have over here. Over in Asia, fermented soya is actually good for us. But soya here is real, soya being processed and very low pesticide. Gluten, which is protein, which is a problem with most people. It wasn't, never used it, but because our gut is not low, it's high protein. So it's amazing. Alright? Dairy. For most, it's not great. It's grey areas for certain body types, and I'll go through that. Alcohol, which is a given, which appear, like, for example, certain wines appears like shooting a gun, the bullets shoot into the gut lining. Because you've got a small barrier. See, the digestive system, if it's stomach, so you've got the throat, the stomach, esophagus, down into the stomach, then going down into the intestines, yeah, small and large intestines. That's separate to the rest of the body. That's your window into the rest of your body. So it stops debris and crap going into the blood, into the rest of the system, systemically. Alright? But when it's leaky, you've got a barrier all the way down to a mucosal barrier. From something like alcohol and medication and crap food, it pierces holes in that mucosal barrier, which is the barrier lining all the way down from the throat to ultimately to the anus. Right? If there's piercing, there's leaky holes. And the term that you'll be familiar with is irritable bowel syndrome, right? IBS, leaky gut, and all that stuff. Then, when it's like a sieve, and pathogens, bugs, toxins get leaked into the system systemically, and that's not good because they can take over, right? Remember, more toxins, more your body will slow your metabolism down to store the toxins into fat. Get them out of the way. Get them away from the immune system and the nervous system. Yeah? So the more toxic load, the more you're creating fat storing, hormones, or a fat storing environment. Again, going back to why we're doing what we're doing. Eliminate as much toxic load we can in the body, in the environment, solvents to food. Alright? And this is where the liver comes in. And the relationship with the gut, which then affects down on here. You get leaky gut, but you can get leaky cells as well. Yes, and I'm going to go, that was one of my slides, which will go on. 5 more minutes, then you're going to stop, just have a shake out. Alright, let's see you like. It all makes sense, yeah? And this is why you go in a bookstore and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of diet books. Alright? The paleo, which is extreme meat and veggies, or fats, to the total and Atkins, to the opposite, which is more carbohydrate, and then everything in the middle. But it's about finding what's right for you and where your physiology is, right? I'm not doing, I think paleo is brilliant because that stops people eating crap, ultimately. But then I'm not 100% for vegetarianism. But at the same time, you do that for a while, it's a cleanse to the body. Some people can do better with low protein, low vegetarian, some people do better with all meats and paleo. But it's in the middle, which you've got to find what is right for you, right? Because symptoms will tell you if that's right for you or not. Okay, so this is the last slide I go on. Okay, estrogen dominance, I've sort of mentioned this. This is common. 30, 40 years old, our hormones get thrown off more and more, and we start becoming more of a storing. Our hormones are more in environmental storing, all right, and more around the thighs and the bum. But again, depending on your body type, you're more an apple shape or pear shape. Either way, this body carries it. I don't do so much. I do for extreme cases, do lab testing, and a lot of females have come back with estrogen dominant. And all the same, what I'm telling you today, yes, the caliper reading, the questionnaires, interpretation, the second best to doing a lab test. But estrogen dominance is so common now. Diet, nutrition, which we're in control of, we're going to improve. But control pill, depending on your genetics, it's a big, you're putting the chemicals in the body and just seeing hopefully better what happens. Some people can do alright with the control pill, but ultimately it's still synthetic and you're stopping saying it's not natural to the body. I'm not saying stop, I don't think I'll start, you have a transformation, you're getting pregnant, which is not good. But I'm just saying what effects it can do, alright? For toxicity, again, what I said, the recycling of the liver, the gut, insulin resistant, that's just that you've used your body so much that you become insulin resistant or tolerant to insulin that you just can't deal. You need more and more insulin to then take whatever it is, sugar, protein, whatever, to where it needs to go, right? And information, all right? Again, the principles behind what we're doing, what I'm going to go through the solution, is all in this program. Yes, there may be to go beyond that, go a bit more stricter than others, but ultimately, you're going in the right path. Okay, if you will stand up, please. Just shake out your arms and legs, and I want you to repeat after me. Repeat this after me. Now this is now we start the self-talk, the right self-talk, right? Every day, repeat, every day, in every way, I'm becoming healthier and healthier, stronger and stronger, slimmer and slimmer. Right, that mantra, I'm going to post it, you can take a seat. That mantra, seems like a cult, doesn't it? But my point is, you repeat that, and I'm going to post this on Facebook, you start repeating that mantra, and there'll be a couple I'm going to post it. You start telling your subconscious that, repeat it every day and every day. I've been doing this for a long time, every day and every way, I'm getting healthier and healthier, stronger and stronger, that's so stronger and stronger and stronger and healthier and healthier. Right? And you repeat it instead of, I hate my body, you look like shit, whatever, I need to hide, I'm confident in front of people, blah, blah, blah. You've got to rewire, reprogram your thought process, alright? Out with the weeds, out with the negative weeds, in with the right soil. Okay, right, 5-minute break, go to the toilet, just and I'll be bringing someone up who I'm taking to extreme levels, and even with the guys, there was guys who I was taking them beyond 10% body fat. The body doesn't like that, doesn't want it, because from a survival point of view, back in the day, you don't know when your next feed's going to be, so you want to hold on to that stored energy, because calories is energy. In the body, it's stored as body fat, that's stored energy. So if you've got a lot of weight there, that's stored energy we need to start using. To use that, you use it efficiently, right? But when you start taking the body beyond what it really wants to do, then it gets tough. It's actually easy. Once we sorted out all what I spoke about, all the reduction in inflammation, toxicity and everything else, and hopefully hormonally it's not too screwed up, it should be quite easy to lose body fat, because you're not designed to be 2 or 3 stone overweight. Yes, you've got your own body type and genetically your ideal optimal weight. However, you trying to go beyond that takes a little bit more science, and I'll explain, because I'm doing that with someone at the moment, female. But anyway, so the starvation myth, I'll come back to that in a minute. The calorie myth. Calories are not just calories. So 1,000 calories of kidney beans compared to 1,000 calories of Coke, a fizzy drink Coke, not cocaine. There's not many calories in that. It's totally different on a biochemical point of view.
So the kidney beans, the micronutrients, so the vitamins, minerals, the fibre, the phytonutrients in it, will help ultimately give you more energy. Do what it needs to do to correct everything. Where 1,000 calories of a fizzy drink like Coca-Cola is just dead, empty calories, which got loads. When I say dead calories, this is calories that's going to poison the body and store fat. So it's just sugar, all right? And that sugar creates a massive acid load in the blood, which is not good at all. So calories is important, and I have worked out individually what calories you should be having. I don't need to stress about it or enrate about it. When you get your own personal handout, it's got a breakdown of how many calories you should be hitting, and in what percentage of protein, fats and carbs. You don't need to go away today and stress out, I need to work out, I need to weigh all this stuff. Forget about that. Over the next 3-4 days, and when I see you, I'll speak to you on the phone, I will just make it simple into what you're eating now and how we can tweak it so it works out today. Alright? Some of you, depending on your personality, may want to just weigh and know what 30 grams of protein is or how much sweet potato, 30 grams of sweet potato is. Alright? And there is a breakdown, like I said in that sheet you put on the fridge, it just gives you an idea. Alright? But calories is important. It's the quality of the calories and what they're going to do to the body. That's why I'm not a big fan of the other diets out there, which is point system, because the calories are low, but it doesn't matter, because it's what it's doing from an inflammation and toxic point of view to the body and the stress. Alright? I'm not going to bang the drum about that, it makes sense. The fat myth, eating fat makes you fat. We've been conditioned. When in the late 80s and 90s, everything started to get fat-free, everyone started getting fatter, because what happened is they took out the fat and started loading, they had to fill it with something else, which ultimately was sugar. And processed sugar is just a poison, ultimately, which creates a lot of acidity, a lot of rotting, a lot of rust. In your handout, I said oxidative stress, alright? So oxidative stress means you get an apple and you bite into it, over time it goes brown, yeah? That's free radical damage, oxidative stress to it. Now I think internally, when you start being exposed to a lot of stress, through whatever it is, in food especially, sugar, that creates rust, quick rust, oxidative stress in the cells of the body. That's why I recommend antioxidants to oxidative stress, yeah? Things like berries are loaded with antioxidants. The stronger the colour in a vegetable or a fruit, the more it's loaded with that stuff, alright? So that's important. Again, simple, just stick to your column of what you should be eating, but I'm just the science behind it and explain. But with the fat issue, again, we've been associated fat will make us fat. Ultimately, it doesn't. Good fats are used for building blocks, for hormones, alright? Reducing inflammation. And, for example, cholesterol has been obviously promoted as a bad thing to have high cholesterol. Now, cholesterol is a red herring in a way, because cholesterol is ultimately good for the body. It's an anti-inflammatory. Alright? You've got more inflammation in the body. Your body will produce, through the liver and other areas, more cholesterol to deal with the inflammation. So, more sugar you have in the body creates poison, acidity, inflammation. The more the body will elevate cholesterol to deal with that. Alright? Food from cholesterol has that much, a very small percentage of converting into blood cholesterol. And we've been conditioned that you shouldn't have high cholesterol dips, food-wise, because that's why your blood pressure is like that. Your blood pressure is like that because the sugar and the crap everyone's eating has increased your own development of cholesterol to deal with that. Do you see what I'm saying? So you don't go after the cholesterol, you go after eating well, eating healthy, then naturally your bad cholesterol, low lipoprotein proteins will go down, and then it will normalise. And that's the problem we're having. High cholesterol, take the statins, which creates more, ultimately, it will bring it down to a point, again on a cellular level, it will bring it down to a point, suppress, but ultimately you'll find against it all the time because that drug creates more toxicity and inflammation, so it's a vicious circle. And you don't hear about the stories what statins is doing, dementia, Alzheimer's, all this stuff. It's just really frustrating because you're never going to hear it unless you dig deep and know where to study and learn it all. Alright? So my point is, fat is really, really important, and the amount of fat you have will be determined by your body type. Alright? And I've got it in there and I will go through this. Alright? Soon, very soon. Carb myth. I'm not against no carbs. Right? You've got to understand, with the condition, carbs, associate carbs with starchy, as in pasta, and potato, and bread. But, you know, vegetables, ultimately, vegetable, below root, above root, veggies are fibre and carbs to a certain level, loaded with fibre as well. Fruits, you could look at that as carbs, fructose, alright? But we've just been overloaded with, again, cramped carbs and starchy carbs in the way of bread, bagels, potatoes, etc., etc. Now, when the system, your metabolism is functioning properly and the weight loss is coming off, then you start adding in carbs at the right time. Because for your body type, individually, you can deal with carbs and you can't, as in you're carb tolerant or carb intolerant. And with fats and carbs is your energy source. Always remember that. Good fats, so this avocado will provide you with energy. Alright? It's the calories, it's energy, it's 25, 30 grams of calories of energy. These rice noodles, for example, is carbohydrates, different component, or macronutrient, but providing you with carbs. Now, depending on your body type, how well you can deal with converting that avocado for energy and to use efficiently and not be converted to the fat, opposed to the rice noodles, carbohydrate. Again, I've worked that out to a certain degree, and best timing. So best time to put it in. So, for example, when you're efficient enough to have carbohydrates, like 100 grams of that, you could have 2 meals, like a bowl of gluten-free porridge oats in the morning and a sweet potato dish around training time, as in like 2-3 hours after training, because your metabolism will be a bit quicker and you'll be more efficient. You'll use that energy, that carbs as energy for repairing and rebuilding, alright? Or the avocado. So again, don't get in that fat thinking, fat's going to store fat. You need that to get the information down to detox, to help with tolerating carbs from an insulin point of view, etc., etc. Carbs, so coming back to that, most of the carbs out there is garbage carbs, alright? Even if it's high, the truth is, white bread or wholemeal bread, it's still a big glycemic load. It breaks down into sugar very quickly. Yeah, it's got a little bit more fibre in it, but if you actually look at wholemeal bread, you see what's in it. There's so much in it which you can't pronounce still. Unless you get really clean spread wheat bread, there's a couple of, I think the British bakery do a good one, mate. But a lot of it is added stuff. Again, the bread today is not like it used to be, what grandparents or grandparents before that used to have. Alright? And again, internally we're not what we like they were, because the added stress. So, you know, a slice of wholemeal bread is about 30-35 grams. Right? Just one slice. But it's added with crap sugars. This caramelised sugar is like bread, which will break down very quickly. And if you don't use that, it stores body fat. And it causes a lot more toxic load and inflammation. So, my point is with the carb myth, carbs are good, but the right type of carbs, again, quality, and at the right time, and introduced at the right time. Right time is in throughout the day and added in at the right time. Now don't get me wrong, there are a few of you I don't want to have starchy carbs at the moment. You get your fuel from good fats and veggies and fruit at the right time. Beans and pulses and legumes are okay if you've got a good healthy digestive system, because they've got lectins like proteins which are hard to break down in a lot of people, but they are good, but they're still classed as carbs. So you wouldn't have like kidney beans or lentils or chickpeas and starchy carbs for a lot of you. If you're a certain body type, again this will make sense in a minute, so that'd be carbs on carbs, where you have, say, a bit of rice or potato, a bit of protein, chicken, and some veggies. Always veggies, loads of veggies throughout the day as much as you can, or alternatively the Greek powder. And I always recommend it for most people, because you want that alkaline in the blood. You don't want that acidity. More acidity, more inflammation, cholesterol goes up, so forth, alright? That makes sense? So the glycemic load is really important. The rate carbs break down into sugar is super important. Alright? So white flour sugar, like white sugar, opposed to sweet potato, the rate it breaks down into carbs is very different. Breakdown of sugar is very different. Okay, this is what I was saying about we are genetically wired to store and hold on. But once you get more efficient and everything, then it will improve. You've got to remember this, right? Food is information to your genes, which ultimately affects your metabolism in your body. We've got to get into this whole food's not for convenience. Well, for a lot of people, it's an inconvenience food. It's like, I've got to eat or whatever, and they just grab whatever. This program, to get where you want to get, you don't accidentally get in great shape and hit your targets. It has to be thought out, it has to be planned. It's a priority alongside everything else in your life. You have to move your priority in your life, up there with your family and everything else. Because if you don't, then you're not going to have the energy to plan your foods or choose what most of your friends are not choosing. You have to do you have to come outside of what most people are doing, right? So there's a certain part of the brain. This is where willpower, a lot of people really get beat up, and feedback on the forums, beat up, can't deal with it, the willpower, the sugar. You can't fight against your physiology, alright? So my point on here, there's a certain part of the brain, which is the oldest, most primitive part of the brain, which is, depending on what text you read, is the limbic reptilian part of the brain, which controls or governs your survival behaviours. So there's two parts of that. There's your fight and flight system. So, for example, back then, in front of a lion, do I fight or do I run? Here, now, you have a row with someone, do I fight or do I ignore it? You get cut by a car. It's the same hormonal response. Yeah? The body doesn't know what type of stress it is. You'll just biochemically have the same response from here. Oh. But in this part of the reptilian part of the brain, it's also your food behaviour. Because your food behaviour there is all about survival and starvation, not going to starvation mode. So you do whatever it needs to do to keep out of that starvation mode. So if that means that you don't eat for 3-4 hours, blood sugar levels goes down, you can try and battle with all the willpower in the world to not eat that bad food, but ultimately, subconsciously, it will override by having some kind of sugar to get that blood sugar levels up because it thinks it's in starvation mode. You don't want to be in that starvation mode. And that's when, if it balances out, eating regularly throughout the day, if it's simple, breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe a snack mid-morning, mid-afternoon, or a post-workout shake. Alright? That will stop that from happening, because you don't want to get to that, because you won't override your survival mechanism behaviour. They're patterns that are ingrained in you subconsciously. Alright? From a Hindu and Eastern philosophy, you may have heard of chakra wheels in your body, yeah? Energy wheels in your body. So, your root chakra is also your safety, sex procreation as well, your tribe, looking after your kids, and pre-creating. Is that right? If that's out, so that chakra wheel in Eastern philosophy is built in the first 7 years of your life. If you've had a dysfunctional upbringing on the first 7 years of your life, as in divorced parents or abuse, whatever it is, a lot of the time, and therapists can, I'm sure, vouch for this, their chakra wheel, it goes out very quickly, and they can't settle. They bounce from one relationship to the other, they can't settle down, and the same with food and diets, they can't settle down, they're just all over the place. And that's been ingrained energetically from 7 years of your life. That can be balanced, can be chakra energetic healing, but that's just, wanted to mention that, alright? It's very hard to necessarily not rebalance it, but it's hard to overcome it, but you can work on it. but you'll see people who are just not grounded. The best thing they can do is, again, ground to earth and visualise the roots coming out their feet. So you can try and work on that chakra wheel. I know that's a bit out there, but it's the truth. Okay, training for results. If you get your training program, I'm going to bash through this because I'm a bit behind time. So if you've got it, if you get your training program, I need to borrow someone's actually for a minute. If you go to the first page of your training program, anyone I can borrow? Thank you. Okay, at the front, I put weekly training example, and I haven't filled it out with some of you because the first week, like I said, and it's definitely up to 10, because detox could be up to 10 days, or be up to 10 days, is I want to see where you train, where it fits into you, how it works out. It's not important, mate. It is important, but it's not, because the first 2 weeks, the secret is the first 2 weeks is trying to get the food right, get the sleep right, get everything, get all the detoxing done. Then there's 12 weeks of training hard and eating well, and your body being much more, or being in a position to be much more receptive to everything you're doing, right? But when you fill out your food diary, please write down your training diary as well, or write down, because there's questions there, what training you've done. And then when I speak to you on a one-on-one basis, I can just fit in what you need to be doing, because there's people not doing that much, and there's people overtraining, all right? Depending on the person then. If you go to most of the programs are workout 1, workout 2. And these workout 1, workout 2 programs are over a 4-week cycle. So in 4 weeks' time, you get a new program of, for most, 2 workouts. And then workout 1, workout 2. So just to keep it basic, workout 1 will be on a Monday, so you do that tomorrow. Workout 2 will be on a Wednesday. Workout 1 again, go back on a Friday, and then alternate for the next week. Alright? And then in between could be cardio, power, whatever. I haven't emphasised cardio much at all, because cardio can be a massive stress on the body. If you get your body right, then you can start implementing cardio. For a lot of you people, I want to go out in nature and just walk and calm the system down and just walk. The other thing is, when you're in that fight, that stress state, you can't digest it. So your gut works on the rest and digest cycle. So when you're calm, you digest better and you'll absorb the nutrients for whatever it is to do, building muscle, etc., etc. When you're stressed out, you eat, it doesn't get digested that well. It takes 20 minutes to signal to the brain that you're full. So when you're in a stressed out, fight-flight state and you eat, normally a lot of people overeat because they rush their food, so they're on the go, and that signal's not gone to the brain. Yeah? Just going back to this. Workout 1, workout 2. So as long as you get at least workout 1, workout 2 in 1 week, so minimum 2 sessions. Again, individually we'll work on that. But I just want to go through technique on this, because the intensity, volume and frequency is really important, and the rest. All the variables there, you'll see there's a column for rest, and it says 60 seconds and arrows. Normally there's 2 exercises together. So for example, you do hip thrust, you do 12 reps. Control, which is slow control. I'm going to show you that tempo in a minute. Then there's pull-ups, which is superset, like 1A, 1B. Now, the reason I've done that is, in the 60 minutes, which should be 60 minutes in your training session there now, you break down the body for 60 minutes max. That doesn't include like prep work, foam rolling and stretches. But work time, neuromuscularly under tension, alright, you don't want to be going over 60 minutes because it becomes diminishing return. You start elevating stress hormones and you're thrown off biochemically, you're thrown it all off. So doing a 2-hour workout is not good. Doing a boot camp and a training program would be actually encouraging fat storage long term. I know that's a bit of a, and you know, there's people, athletes who train for like 2 hours, 3 hours marathon runners, fine, but they're athletes. But what we need to be doing for the real person in the real world with families and everything else, hour is max ideally of time under tension. If it's strength training, cardio, it's going to be 20 to 40 minutes. The intensity is really important on that. Alright? My point is, going back to the 1A, 1B, where I want to get as much in as possible, so you can pair up exercise. So you do a hip thrust, then you go into a pull-up, and then rest for 60 seconds. Alright? Or you can be doing 60 seconds between exercises. You do 3 sets, you do them 2 sets, 2 exercises, 3 sets over, then you do the next 2. The rule of thumb, if you're doing 12 reps, say a bicep curl, that last couple of reps you want to be like this, struggling, hurting, burning. You've got to really, there's training and there's training. You want to load the body so you get a response. If you don't, you're going to spin your wheels. Because you need to load the neuromuscular system so you get a hormone response as well to come back stronger. You want to be, 2 weeks time, be able to do a bicep curl a lot heavier at the same reps. But the rule of thumb is you've got to be aching that last couple of reps, but don't lose form. So if you're doing this in the last rep, you're forcing reps, you're round your shoulders, forward head posture, and you're doing this. All right, you see a lot of guys doing this. And they're actually doing a hip thrust to do a bicep curl because they want to look good to their guns. Remember this, the brain is like a computer. You give it information, it stores it. And it remembers the last bit of information you give it. So if you do the bicep curl, the last couple of reps, if it's like this, you're ingrained in the faulty movement pattern. So you're being encouraged next time you do it to go into that pattern more and more. You'll create more dysfunction, more inflammation, more stress in the body. Alright? So I'm just going to, Steph, do you mind? I'm going to use Steph. Now, there's 3 ladies who are going to come out in a minute who I'm going to talk about body types. You understand really what body type nutrition is all about. And Steph, some of you know, some of you don't, if you come up, is competing in 4 weeks' time to go on stage. So we're taking to extreme levels. Like, for example, she's gone from 26% body fat to 16, which is a lot, because 25% body fat is pretty good shape. She's in good shape, and we're getting in great shape. But if we go too much, if we're too lean, she'll be down 20 for she's in the bikini category, right? I'll talk about her in a minute, but from a technique point of view, hopefully you should be a good personal trainer, so you just come over. So I just want to, if you've got in your tempo, controlled, or 3-0-1. So I'm going to use a squat for example. If you face it that way, so you can see from the side, arms crossed over chest for the moment, feet a little bit wider. So if it's a 3-0-1 tempo on a squat, for example, if you do boot camp classes, doing this type of training, you feel like slow motion. But every variable, the speed being one, the tempo, is so important to the outcome, everything you're doing, right? So if you just do a squat, a 3 second down, okay, so she's showing you not what to do, right? So when you come up, so you do 3 seconds all the way down. So 1, 2, 3, and then come back up. Because it's 3-0-1. So if you go down again, 3, 2, 1, no pause, because it's 0, straight back up, that's a 1, straight up, all right? So from a squat point of view, slow is important, all right? Because it has an outcome how you're going to look. And that sounds a bit weird, but that's the truth. Now, for Steph, she's got good flexibility. So I want you to go down as far as you can until I say stop. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Right, stop there. She's at a position, from a muscular split point of view, she's not rounding her back. She's got good form there. So if you come back up, that she's doing an exercise under load. She has a lot of weight, so she's doing barbell squats or she's holding dumbbells. She's loading through the body. If you go down again, and start rounding your back, as in the other way. She probably can't do it now, so you've got such a good posture. So you go down like this, and just round the back, which she used to. Round the back, if you've got tight hips, you start flexing, she can't even do it, because she's so ingrained to a good technique. Right, if you come up, my point is, the lower you get on a squat, the more you're going to fire up your bum muscles. Yeah? So, you only do that though, you want to go down to ideally 90 degrees in the knees to get real true glute activation. And you guys want to get good toned glutes, right? To do that, you need to be doing deep squats, you need to be doing other leg exercises. But don't do it at cost. I want you to get down there under load and flex the spine. Remember, the body will remember that. And you're just going to cause dysfunction, and we've got to keep injury free. Alright, so the tempo is important, but also the technique position is important. So on a lunge, just get in a lunge position, Steph. Okay, with the lunge, what a lot of people find challenging, they put their foot directly behind, they're wobbly. Alright, I always say, come out with a little bit of base support, so actually you face that way first. Okay, and bring your right foot out slightly, to the right that way. You've got to make sure you bring it out a little bit so you've got good balance. If you haven't bring your arms out, so arms out, and that promotes good posture, yeah? Happy, good posture, bad, depressed. Happy, good posture, right? So when you're doing something like that, you want to chest up, arms back, and arms out if you need that balance. Right, if you're doing body weight, otherwise obviously hold to the side. But tempo on this, again, same again, back you up. When you go down, you're at 90 degrees in both knees. So go down, 1, 2, 3, then drive up. And again, 1, 2, 3. That tempo, you don't want this. That's just going on momentum, and you lose everything
every time you're working out, you've got opportunity to get as much out of it, and that technique is key on that, right? Technique and tempo is key. Right, a press up, if it's on the knees or full ones, definitely do full ones, we hope. I'll show you the technique and tempo on this just quickly. So if you just go into it, yeah, do that, if you can see that. Some of you know this, but no, I need to do it first.
What, knees?
No, full ones. So 3 second down or control. 3, 2, 1, drive up. 3, 2, 1, drive up. That's the speed we want to go. If it's on the knees or not, it doesn't matter where you're starting from. He wants to be slow, so it's a 4-second exercise, or rep, should I say. Okay, and relax. When you notice for her elbows, you bring your elbow face that way, elbows out. She didn't have her elbows like that. She had them down slightly. Now, if you have them like that, you're overworking the shoulders, and you're not emphasising the chest and the core as much. You're overloading the shoulders. You drop the elbow down slightly, you drive through the chest, you take the stress off the shoulders, yeah? If you go down too narrow, it becomes a tricep exercise. So you want in between, remember that. And when I do boot camps, I always say shoulders are over the wrist, so you can get that drive through the chest. So that just emphasises technique and tempo, what we need to do. I'll just show you a few exercises, but when we go on and on, we haven't got time, I think, to take a seat now. Alright, hopefully that didn't wear you out.